Okay, back here with Starfleet Introduction to Starfleet Battles Task Force games. No long introduction intended here, so my short introduction is going to be with so many games to play. I was thinking about this earlier. I could be playing Panzer Grenadier, I could be playing Line of Battle, I could be playing Great Battles of History, I could be playing Advanced Squad Leader, Starter Kit, I could be playing Battles from the Age of Reason. All these games, so many wonderful games to play, but I am here with Starfleet Battles. Introduction to Starfleet Battles. Again, trying to pick up where I left off. I want to talk about energy allocation for the cadet game. So real quickly in review, since I'm starting here, I am setting up here for scenario 4. So I've got the cadet energy allocation form for my Constitution Federation ship right there on the board. So real quickly, again, warp engine 16, that's the 8 energy boxes from the left warp, another 8 from the right warp for a total of 16. Impulse engines, there it is, 2 boxes for impulse engine. Reactor power, that's APR, 2 boxes, boom. Total power, add those up, 20. Batteries available, 2 right there. I do believe the scenario starts with batteries full, so 2, batteries discharged 0. Alright, so phasers, where's that? There's energy for phasers, 1 per. So we've got phaser 1, phaser 1, phaser 1, phaser 1 for 3 right there. Torpedoes, I am going to put 2 points of energy for, where is it? Photon 1, I think. Photon torpedo 1, left side, and 2 for photon torpedo 1, right side. I think that's all right. Now, I do want to talk about power requirements at this point. So I do want to understand this in as much detail as I can before getting into the scenarios. So energy for phasers, again, talked about that right there, 3. 1 point of power to fire a phaser 1 or phaser 2. These are obviously phaser 1s. Oh, did I get that wrong? Okay, alright. Oh yeah, these are the photon torpedoes. Phaser 1, like I said. Phaser 1 left side, phaser 1 forward arc, I think. Forward. Phaser 1 right side. These are the photon torpedoes I should have. Alright, so correct that. Okay, phaser capacitors. All ships have phaser capacitor. This is a special storage battery that is equal in capacity to the total amount of power required to fire each of the ship's phasers 1 time. For example, the Federation Cadet Cruiser here, with 3 phaser 1s, has a phaser capacitor rating of 3, right? So 1, 2, 3, capacitor rating of 3. Energy can be held in the phaser capacitor from one turn to the next and can be withdrawn during any impulse to fire the ship's phasers. It can never be withdrawn for any other purpose. Okay, now I see why they clarify that. Because there will be all other sorts of energy demands. Yeah. This energy can be withdrawn for any phaser. It could be used over a period of 3 turns to fire the same phaser 3 times. Okay, so the capacitor isn't linked to any particular phaser. Energy can be added to the phaser capacitor during the energy allocation phase. That's where we are now, by the way. Energy allocation phase of turn 1. I'm probably only going to be playing the Constitution. I'll have a Klingon War. The name of the ship is War, so a Klingon Cadet Battle Cruiser. I'm going to have the Klingon Cadet Battle Cruiser in the scenario, but I don't think I'm not going to really play the Klingon ship. I'll just have it move and shoot as I need to learn the rules. So I'm playing the Federation Cadet Cruiser here. Let's see. But note that the total energy in the capacitor cannot exceed the capacity of that capacitor. If a phasor is destroyed, an equivalent portion of the phasor capacitor is also destroyed. Okay, so if one of these phasors gets destroyed, it's not like the capacitor remains 3. The capacitor would drop to a capacity of the remaining amount, or 2. All right, so energy for disruptor bolts. Okay, so I'm assuming the disruptor bolts are for the Klingon cadet battle cruiser, which again, I don't plan to be doing the energy for that. No, I don't. But let's talk about Army photon torpedoes, because that's what I did want to do. To arm a photon torpedo, 2 factors of warp energy. Warp energy. So I think that means 2 here has to come from the 16 here. Warp energy. Allocated to a specific photon torpedo tube. So I guess that's weapon A and B. Oh, okay, A and B on on the ship display. Photon, 2 boxes, 1 box labeled A, 1 box labeled B. Okay. On 2 consecutive turns. So to arm it, you have to spend 2 factors of warp energy in 2 consecutive turns. Okay. The second turn may be the turn of firing. The Federation cadet cruiser, which has 2 photon tubes, would have to expend 4 units of warp energy on each of 2 consecutive turns, which is what I plan to do, to fire a full spread of 2 torpedoes. Note that since APR power, this is reactor power 2, which is again there, cannot be used for movement, and since only 1 unit of impulse power can be used for movement, I guess impulse engines 2, impulse there, but I think only 1 can be used for movement. Since only 1 unit of impulse power can be used for movement, a Federation ship arming for photon torpedoes would be limited to a maximum speed of 13, energy for movement 13, because 4 of its 16 points of warp power are going to the torpedoes. The remaining 12 points, so the remaining 12 points plus 1 of impulse power, give a top speed of 13. Okay, so what remains of warp energy, there we go, what remains of warp energy plus 1 from impulse is your maximum for movement, because the second impulse point can't be used for movement, and the reactor power, APR power, cannot be used for movement. Yeah. Holding armed for photon torpedoes. If the arming of a photon torpedo has been completed on a given turn, and the torpedo is not fired on that turn, that might happen next turn, then the ship must allocate 1 unit of energy for that tube for each turn until the torpedo is fired. So this is the holding energy. If it's not paid, the torpedo crew will eject the torpedo harmlessly into space. Okay, so that'll be interesting. So I'm assuming I just track it here. So if the next turn I have 2 for photon tube A, 2 here, then I can fire it. If I don't fire it, there'll be 1 in the next turn, showing the power being held. So energy requirement. The 4 points of energy to arm a photon torpedo, okay, over 2 turns, must all come from the warp engines. Yeah, that's like we already said. The 1 unit of power to hold it may come from any source. So that's telling me in this turn when I need to, if I haven't fired the photon yet and I have to spend 1 to hold it, that 1 could come from impulse engines or APR, for example. So comment, using simple arithmetic, it's obvious that the Federation ship requires 7 units of power to arm its weapons. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, okay. So that's again 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. To arm its weapons each turn, thus it cannot exceed a speed of 13 while arming all weapons unless it uses its batteries right there to arm weapons or already has energy in the phaser capacitors. Okay. Alright, this is just the very basics of weapons arming. Later on, In the rules, there's a lot more you can do with energy, including tractor beams, transporters, reinforcing shields, jamming, enemy scanners, and so on.